Hello, this video is for Mr. V's Red Reading Group. Today we'll be working with this book called Reading Together. Pause the video and go ahead and grab that book. First, I want you to just flip through the pages and take a look at the pictures and think about what we're going to read about in this book. After you've done that, I want to show you a few words that you're going to see in here that I'd like to review. You're going to see this word. Anybody know that word? Say it out loud if you know it. That word is right. This doesn't mean like right or left or right or wrong. This means to write, like if you're writing with a pencil, if you're going to write a story. The tricky thing about this word is that it begins with a W, even though you don't hear it. Here's another word you're going to see in this book. Say that out loud if you know it. This word is after. I bet you all know that one. It looks like w-ass, was, but was is not a word. This one's up on the word wall back at school. This is was. And here's another one. That word is good. All right, I'm going to point to a word. You say it out loud. Was. Try to say it before I say it. After. Good. Right. Good. After. Was. Good. Right. Okay. Now, before we read, I want to remind you of some of the things we can do when we get stuck on words. Okay. And in this book, there are going to be some tricky words. I'm going to move these out for a moment here. And one of the things we can do is to use the first sound in the word to help us make a good guess about what that word might be. So, if I was reading here, if I got stuck on this word, it would look something like this. I read to my, I have to make that first sound, to my g. Oh, that might be grandma. After I use the first sound and I say the word that I think it might be, I need to think to myself, does that make sense? I read to my grandma. Does that make sense? Does it look right? Does it sound like right? Good. Then we keep going. I write stops to. So I use the beginning sounds, okay? But I need to go back and think, does it make sense? I write stops to. Does that make sense? No, so I need to go back and try it again. I write stories too. Stories. Does it look right? Yes. Does it sound right? Yes. That's how I want you to get through those tricky words when you come to them. Okay? We'll start on page 2 together. Read page 2 with me. All right. I read to my mom. I read after school. I want you to pause the video and then read the rest of the book by yourself. Go ahead and do that. Okay, you've read the whole book by yourself and you've unpaused the video, and now I want you to read the book with me. Okay, remember I've kept these words over here visible for us. Right, after, was, and good, in case we get stuck on them. We just did page 2. Let's continue on page 3. You read along with me. I read to my dad. I read to my grandma. I write stories too. I read to my grandpa. I draw I'm getting my mouth ready. That makes sense. I draw pictures too. It looks right. It sounds right. It makes sense. So I'm going to keep going. I read to my sister. I read to my brother. I read to my dog. I read to my cat. I read to my bears. This was a good book. Okay, now I want you to pause the video, go back and read the whole book one more time by yourself. Okay, go back to the beginning, read it one more time by yourself, and then unpause the video when you're done. Okay, you've read it for the third time by yourself. Now we're just going to do a little bit of writing to go with it, just 1 or 2 sentences. If you look, on almost every page, it starts with the words, I read to my, in fact, it might be actually every single page starts with the words, I read to my. Okay, so now I want us to write a couple sentences that begin like that. Okay, now you don't have a whiteboard like I have, but what the last packet of materials you got has one of these plastic sleeves in it, and it has a bunch of math papers in there. If you put those math papers in there and then turn them upside down, so you're just looking at the white blank side of those papers, you can use it just like a whiteboard. Now, if you open up to any page in your book, you'll see how the sentences begin. I read to my, okay, so you can start your sentence just the same way. I read, notice we're starting with uppercase, we're going to remember our spaces in between words. I read to my, then I want you to finish that sentence, okay? I put a line there, you don't need to draw a line, you just write another word. Who do you write to? Do you write to, or excuse me, who do you read to? Do you read to your mom? Do you read to your grandma? Do you read to your nana? Do you read to your sister? Okay. And then if you want, you can do another one. I read to my blank. Notice I'm putting periods there. After you finish the sentence, you'll want to have a period at the end. Okay, if you don't have a whiteboard to write on, you can do this on a piece of paper. Just write those 2 sentences. Nice job, Red Group. Don't forget, as you're reading other things, other books or stories online, don't forget to use the first sound in a word by getting your mouth ready, and always think about whether or not it makes sense. Okay, keep reading, Red Group. Nice job.